In this lesson, we are going to use the SUMIF function. And what that is a conditional function where we are going to add things if it meets a certain criteria. So this is really handy. For example here, let's say I see some dollar amounts for Florida, and then I see it again, Florida again in the list, and without having to go through my entire list. Now here I have only 50 entries, but I might have 5,000. So there would be no way you could go through each one of those efficiently. So we use the SUMIF function. So let's go ahead and type our function. We are going to SUMIF, and what is our range that we are going to evaluate? The first parameter is not what you are going to be summing. It is what are you going to be evaluating. And I'm going to be evaluating column B. I want to know the dollar amounts for just Florida. So I am going to say I am going to evaluate B2 through B51. Comma. The next one, okay, what's the criteria? Well, I want B2. I want Florida. If I do a comma now, I have, okay, now what is the sum range? That means what range are you going to be adding together? And that is going to be column D. So I will put in D2 through D51. And there is my total for Florida. You can see here that it's going and it's taking each value for Florida. So that's pretty easy. Now, let's say I wanted to do that for every state. Even though I don't have a unique list here, it would be much easier first to pare this down to a unique list. But let's say I wanted to do, the first few states here. Could I use the fill handle and drag that down? Well, let's go ahead and drag that down. And now I can see, well, for each of these states, it looks like I have a total, but I do not have the correct total. If you look at Florida, okay, it's 8,800. Then I look at this Florida, and it's only, shouldn't Florida always be the same? Of course it should. And that is because when you copy it now, it is following that concept of relative positioning. Now, if you're not familiar with absolute and relative positioning, there's another video on that you can watch, but that is super important. So what I would have needed to do here is I would have needed to make these values absolute. That means I don't want it to move, okay? I want B2 to move when I copy, but I don't want all this to move. So let's see what happens now. Okay, I still have the same 8,800, but now when I go ahead and I copy that, boom, there we go. Now you can see each state is always the same. So it is still always looking at the range B2 through B51 and then adding D2 through D51, but only this is moving as you copy it downward, and that's what you would want. Now I can continue here a little bit just to prove a point, and we can see here, here's Nevada, and do we have another Nevada here? No, we don't. Well, let's do this. $62.76, and then once again 6276. So that is how you use the SUMIF function. Just remember what you're evaluating, the value, and what you're adding together, and there you have it.